speak a lot about last 2-3 years, or maybe Damian will correct me, maybe more than 5 years, but still we just speak, and now finally we're in some stage where we started implementing things further, faster, and with greater dynamics. Does the pandemic influence on that, or finally we understood that we should accept the changes that are coming, that we should see the digitalization process as an important thing for the development of the country, for development of all of us, not like a problem that will gonna make us lose the jobs or maybe have some other negative impacts, but vice versa. We'll see, and we'll discuss on these topics during this 1 hour. On the panel titled Digital Transformation Connects, Perspectives for Building Partnership in the Western Balkans. On this panel, we have with us Mr. Azir Aliu, the Minister for Information Society and Administration in the government of the Republic of North Macedonia. Also, we have the pleasure to have with us Ms. Emilia Stoimenova-Duh, Minister for Digital Transformation in the government of the Republic of Slovenia. Then we have, sorry if I misspell, Aino Lepik von Vieren. Did I spell it right? I hope, yeah. Director General of International Organization and Human Rights Department in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Estonia. Always, when we say Estonia, we think about digital transformation, digitalization. Mr. Damian Manchevski, who is member of the Executive Board of MASIT, the Chamber of Commerce for IT, and also former Minister for Information Society and Administration. Ermira Idrizi, Associate Professor of IT at the Southeastern European University in Tetovo, in North Macedonia. Mr. Jaber Derala, Founder and Editor-in-Chief of Civil Platform. Thank you. And we have the pleasure to have with us Ms. Drita Abdiu Halili, the State Secretary in the Secretariat for European Affairs. She will give us the conclusion remarks at the end and recommendations for the next steps in the process. So let's start with the agenda. Mr. Aliu, you are the keynote speaker. So I would give you the floor and ask you to tell us how are the things going in the digital transformation field. Please, Mr. Aliu.
Faleminderit shumë për ftesën. Pra, transformimi digital ju shumë bukur e thatë, edhe ky panel është jashtëzakonisht shumë i rëndësishëm.
So digitalization process is very important for us. It is because of the two reasons. First reason is if we don't have borders, and it is influence to some countries in the one or the other way, it is very important to have a digital transformation. It is very important to have one ecosystem that is coordinated between the neighboring countries. And when we have such a system, it means that if it doesn't function, then it will not give any results. It is. I'm glad that we are here together from the private and the academic sector and from institutions that are managing the digital transformation. And although we met on the bilateral meetings, we believe that there will be one action plan as a result that we will work together. So far, the digital transformation in the North Macedonia has been at the level where we are creating the laws that shall be compatible with the digital transformation, where Europe is holding the digital compass, and we are in the good way through digital transformation to see the neighborhood and to see how they work, how they operate in the two aspects, because the digital transformation is a challenge, but can also be the holdback and also the advantage. And all the holdings can be related to the cybersecurity that is shall be provided within the critical infrastructure in the country and among the citizens, and the public services that has been presented shall be very much safe, and in direct way it is connected to the neighborhood and also within the region. The advantage of the digital transformation is the speed and the form in which it is changing and is giving the possibilities, and those are the possibilities that we as a Western Balkans shall use. It is in form of the education, but also for creating of IFT component within the private enterprises, in the science and in the culture and in the administration. That really gives us a lot of opportunities, and it will be pity not to use it within the administration. And in that sense, we are communicating very closely with all countries within the Western Balkans, and also we are cooperating with Slovenia as a country that is already in the EU and is very much advanced in that sense. And we believe that we will support each other and help each other, not only on the level of the Western Balkans, but also and the wider. It is the beauty of the digital transformation is not only there, but it is also about the mindset, because the people are much more open, and this is the advantage that we shall take into account and connect the countries. The politics shall not have a lot of influence in this one, but we shall just follow the world in the digital transformation map that is in the world, and to create the digital transformation plan. I believe that we will change the ambience in the state with this digital transformation, and we speak within the framework of the Western Balkans. It is about corruption and communication and service offering. And through the digitalization of the services, I believe that these things will be improved. The science says the digital transformation has raised economy for 10%, and I believe that this is a forum that shall be used in order to take this journey and to see where we are as a country and what we are all doing. Currently, we are mapping the local and state institution in terms of the digital infrastructure from the aspect of the equipment and human capacities, and also the software solutions. When we gather all this data, we will have a real sense about where in the terms of the digital transformation is the country, what we need, and in which direction shall we go. Then we are going to prepare the action plan that will serve the data, based on the data, because then we'll also produce a data, because each politics that will be created later on shall be based on the data, not to be based on the wishes and the opportunities, but on the real politics that can be applied in the daily life. At the end of the day, we as the citizen, our citizens would like to have the better life, more decent life, and real-time services. And in that direction, I'm really glad, and Mr. Damian knows, because he was my colleague and he was the manager of the institution. One of the old ideas that we had previously, it was an agency for the digitalization, and I believe that, and I'm very happy that we are actually realizing this idea, and we are creating the digitalization agency, and currently we are creating the law that will manage this this agency, and will be an umbrella for these activities, and will be a flagship for the creation of the digital transformation in the countries. It will be it will be the four pillars. One is digitalization of the state institutions, and not just the institution. EFG, and also the broadband and the fiber optics that is already existing on the level of the state institutions, because without the structure, digital services are not very much useful. We have to think about this also on the level of the Western Balkans, because we need to have very good policies and their implementation. Then it is the software solutions. While we are using the software solutions and the blockchain technology, the different softwares, we will try to offer, together with the private sector and our services, that will provide the solution not just for the public sector, also in the private sector. The tendency of the agency not to create a monster agency to send to collect all the experts, but the part where we will manage all the digital processes in the country together with the private sector. It is unreal to have all the human resources together and to hold them very not single-handed. The speed, the technology, the distance, and all the activities that shall be that we cannot keep them unless we have used them, and we shall provide the flow and proper services. In terms of the human capacities, it will also go for the preparation and education, not only in the private sector, but also in the private sector. We are facing in the public sector that we have a lot of institutions that don't have a view and actually information what kind of services they have to provide and what is needed for the private sector. With the reorganization of the employees in the private sector, in the public sector, and in coordination with the private sector, we can provide in the real time the more better services. For that purpose, for this pillar, we envisage to give the services as an expertise and also provide the different trainings for the public sectors. Today, when we speak about the cybersecurity, it is not very good if you have a good infrastructure, if you don't have the people in the public sector that are not properly informed or trained to use the protocols based on which they shall work for this integrated software and programs. So that means in order to avoid all the not properly used finances, and it is very important not just for the all institutions, for the people, but also for the institutions, because all the people that are working there providing these services has to be skilled with the digital for the use these digital documents, and they has to have all the proper knowledge and tools to provide the cyber security. And we believe that the digital transformation will be proper and it will not have the negative reflection. And we will not repeat mistakes that we did so far. So the digital transformation cannot be implemented if you are employed and if you don't give the two options to the employees to form two options, one traditional and one digital. And the digital revolution can become when we can provide services in digital form. Today we believe and we all know that in the schools, in terms of the education, we were much more advanced in terms of the digital transformation within the education process. But today in the basic, for example, education, we have the dual form. When we have the teacher that has to record, make the records in the book, and also has to record the class that has been held in the laptop. So we are overloading the teacher with the work. And with this we decrease his creativity. So in that sense, the digital transformation will be much more creative. I will not extend my presentation because we have to discuss on this. And I believe that with the digital transformation, the countries will be closer, science will be more realistic, information more visible, cooperation much better, and we will create startup ecosystems, and not on the states of the level, but on the level of the region that will not be knowledgeable and recognized within the region and the countries, but also worldwide. We have to use all these funds available, not just here, but also in the world, to make this digitalization faster and more easier.
Slovenia, our European experience that we would like to follow and hear more about what does it mean and how the digital transformation connects in Slovenia. Minister Emilia Stojmenova-Duh, please.
Thank you
The
so
floor
much.
is yours.
Thanks to the Minister as well for his kind invitation to this forum. We already met at bilateral meetings, as he said, and we saw that we have many things in common. I will maybe start with the challenges that we have in Slovenia. Then I would like to continue with our top priorities and vision. What is our plan by 2030? And then maybe just shortly with concluding remarks. So the biggest challenge that we are facing in our country is the lack of ICT experts. And I don't think this is the challenge in Slovenia only, but not only in Europe, but in the whole world. And when we are speaking about ICT experts, it's not only the experts that are lacking in the private sector, but also in the public administration. And yesterday with your minister, we had this discussion. So how can we solve this issue? And you are planning to provide this agency. We spoke about the possibilities to outsource some experts when it's needed in the public administration. So this is something that we need. I know that in Estonia you also have your agencies, several. So this is a way how we should continue in the future. Then the second big issue or challenge that needs to be solved is to increase the number of companies that are using new technologies like the cloud, then artificial intelligence, to make sure that they understand how they can use data for their business modeling, also how to use Internet of Things, not only the IT companies, but especially the traditional sector, because we want to have progress in the traditional sectors as well. Then another thing, another challenge is the support environment. The support environment for both the private sector, but also for the public administration. Here we are using the mechanisms provided by the European Commission. So I'm speaking both about the European Digital Innovation Hubs. We're building the network now. We have 3 European Digital Innovation Hubs in our country. 2 of them are co-funded by the European Commission and by Slovenia. And one of them as well is it has the seal of excellence, but it doesn't have the funding. And last but not least is the trust by the citizens. So if we want that the digital transformation will connect, then we need people and organizations that trust in the digital transformation, and this is something we're working a lot on, and we can do that by raising awareness, as was also mentioned by the minister. So how we're dealing with this? I've been a minister for a year now, and for the first time now in Slovenia we have a special ministry for digital transformation, dedicated to digital transformation. In the past, different ministries were dealing with their own topics and their own ministry, and what we experienced is first, we were using too much resources for the same thing, so we were doubling the resources for the same thing. Infrastructure, doubling the infrastructure because it was not centralized, and then we were not coordinated. We didn't have the same vision, we didn't know where do we want to go. So with our new government that was founded last year, we have this new Ministry of Digital Transformation. And we started immediately with all the strategies, with all the visions. The first plan we did was the plan for gigabit infrastructure. So in this plan, we defined the indicators and the goals. How do we want to be connected, internet connected, by 2025 and 2030. Our goal is that by 2025 we will cover all urban areas and all main roads with both 5G and connectivity, not gigabit connectivity, but high-speed broadband. And then by 2030 that we will cover the whole country. This is not difficult, if I may say so, because already now 90% of our households already have access to high-speed broadband. This is yet not gigabit connectivity, but still we are very good connected. And also when it comes to 5G, it's already 70% of the country that is covered with 5G. Then the next thing what we did was the strategy for public services, digital public services. We have prepared the action plan afterwards, so now the action plan is also being prepared, and it will be the government is the one who will give the last check that it's the proper one. But here we define the financial resources, the responsibilities, because although it's at our ministry, we wanted to make sure that everybody is included in the preparation. And then even though we were a bit late, but still we wanted to include everybody, and here I mean not only all the ministries, but also to include the NGOs, to include the researchers, to include the companies, when we developed our Digital Slovenia strategy, which is the umbrella strategy of our country. In our umbrella strategy, we have 6 main pillars. So the first one is, of course, the infrastructure. And I already spoke about the indicators and the goals, but I'm very happy to share that Slovenia is one of the rare countries that has connectivity as a universal service, which means that every citizen in our country, regardless of where he or she lives, it's by legislation that they need to get connectivity. By a very approachable price, so everybody can afford that. And if they don't get this connectivity on the market, then they can get this connectivity as a universal service. We are very proud of that. And this is something that we are speaking about digital inclusion. We saw during COVID how important was that everybody must be connected to the internet. So this is something we are very happy to share also our experiences. Then the second pillar is the digital inclusion. And I really like the title of this panel, Digital Transformation Connects, but if it is inclusive. And when we are speaking about inclusivity, it is not only the digital skills and competencies, which are indeed very important, but we must make sure that everybody can first afford the connectivity, then second, has the equipment to be able to use that connectivity, and last but not least, to have the knowledge, the skills and competencies to use all the opportunities provided by the digital transformation. So we work a lot on that. We are establishing I already spoke about the connectivity, the infrastructure. Then when it comes to the equipment, we are establishing a new mechanism where people that cannot afford themselves to buy new equipment, they can borrow for free. So this is a fund that is established by the government where they can get a laptop or a tablet or some other equipment. We have priority groups, target users. First, of course, are the children who are still in school. Then also it's retired people who cannot afford themselves, so they can always borrow, and then they can use the digital public services. And then last but not least is the digital skills and competences. We're really investing in our people, both in these basic digital skills. For us, it is very important they will be able to know how to use the digital public services that are provided by the government, but also by the municipalities, and as well also the private digital services. We have 2 mobile vans, mobile classrooms that are traveling around the country. So for us, it was important that we go to the people and don't expect them to come to us. So this is something that we started last year, and now because the response is really good, we are doing that this year as well. We would like to also make sure that more young girls and boys are studying STEM, so that's why we have additional informal trainings, education, workshops for them to be able to get the skills that they need, and then of course to come and study at our faculties. And then we are also having programs for skilling and upskilling of people. We are working here closely with the private sector, so We ask them what are the skills and competencies that are required in your companies, and then we fund programs so that we educate those people, and then they can be employed in these companies, and the public administration as well. And additionally, it is for us very important to include the women in the ICT sector, because in Slovenia only 17% of women in the ICT sector, there are only 17% of women, and we would like to increase this number because we believe that this is a way how we can get more ICT experts. Then the third pillar is the digital economy, and for us here it is very important that companies will understand how new digital transformation it will improve their processes, how it will improve their efficiency, and then we would like to show them that they don't need to buy hardware, that maybe they can use the cloud, they can use the data, how they can use the data, and so on and so on. We are very ambitious here, but I'm sure that we will manage to achieve our goals. The public services, by 2030, we would like to have all our public services available digitally. Estonia is here maybe a lighthouse we are following. Maybe we can do that. The divorce will be possible also online. It depends on who will be the minister at that time. Just a small joke.
Still not.
Then for us it is also very important that 80% of our citizens will use the services online. So not only that they will be available online, but that also 80% of the people will use them, and that 80% of the people will use the electronic ID, which is already functioning very well in our country. Many of the people are already using the electronic ID. You can apply for high school, for university. You can go with the same ID in the hospital and the pharmacy and so on. So we would like to make sure that people are using the electronic ID, and that's why we started a collaboration with the private sector as well. As the minister mentioned, it is important here, the partnership between the public and the private sector. Then the next pillar is the Society 5.0. Here is the importance of data. Slovenia is very successful in open data. We have also an open data portal. We encourage not only the public administration, but also the companies, also the municipalities to share their data and then to reuse the data, both for research, but also for different business models. Artificial intelligence, Slovenia has a huge tradition in artificial intelligence. We have a national program on artificial intelligence. Now our university is connected together, and we are starting a new program where 50 PhDs in artificial intelligence, and for a country with only 2 million people, this is a lot. Will be able to produce in the next few years. And then cybersecurity, this is something that it is important in all our countries. We have a special office for cybersecurity in our country, and here we are working again with other European countries and trying to help also the Western Balkans. There is a regional center in Montenegro for cybersecurity, but we're happy to share the knowledge there as well. So maybe just as a conclusion, for us it is really important that digital transformation is inclusive. And when I speak about inclusivity, I mean both by gender, by age, by location, geography. So it means that everyone should have the opportunity to use the possibilities, the opportunities that are brought by the digital transformation. Maybe just something in our country, we're not so much about following the approach digital only, because what we experienced, this is very difficult, especially in the health sector. We started to have digital only, but then we had a lot of elderly people who were not able to make an appointment, to make the basic services that they needed. So we're following the approach digital by default. But then we're still having the net for the people who will not be able for some time or maybe never. And also we're establishing a supportive network of organizations where people can go and then somebody will help them. And the good thing with digital transformation is, as also the minister mentioned, we're all on the same side here. So we don't have coalition and opposition like in many other areas. So there is no ideology here. It's like we are on the train, otherwise the train will go and we will stay there. So here it's the same case in Slovenia. I'm happy to be a minister of the area where usually the legislation is accepted by everybody in the parliament, or where everybody agrees that we need to move forward. So they're all supporting when we bring all these new mechanisms. So thanks a lot.
Thank you, Minister Stemenova Duh. Actually, I would just add that we
Yes, someone can.
politicians and other stakeholders on different sides in digitalization, but yes, we all agree that the process of digitalization should be a process which will be accepted by all the stakeholders and all the people who think that actually we should move on and live in better conditions, better standard. So thank you very much for that. So yes, Director General von Wieren, I said, whenever we speak, we talk about Estonia, the first association, at least in my country, is digitalization. Why?
No. That's a good question. Thank you. It's a really honor and really interesting to hear about your plans and also your experiences, which in many cases I can recognize them from Estonia. It's the same thinking. And why Estonia has been in the forefront of digitalization is a good question. But I think as we gained re-independence in '91, we didn't have any old systems in place, any old equipment in place. We could start from scratch. And I think that was, we had to invent to do something, because to help up the economy, to organize all the infrastructure, the institutions, and then you didn't have to rely on anything, you know, you had to and I think that was which made us to go forward very quickly. And of course it helped that there were several people who were very energetic. For example, in the year 2000 we decided for the government that the government shouldn't sit with any papers at their meeting, would only have all the material in the internet, and it was a question of a more effective way to govern, but also a way to be more transparent and connect with all the institutions. So that is one example. And of course we have the ideology that the citizens only once has to present its data to the government, and then it can be used in all different circumstances. And it works in e-health. Well, we have also the e-school, e-government, e-elections. And of course, as we talked earlier, it's important to have trust, that people have to trust the system, the government, the identification system, and that you have to build up. It doesn't come immediately. You have to build up the trust and show that nothing bad is happening. And if something happens, then you have immediately to react. But I think the thinking for us is that digitalization is something good, and it gives you opportunities. But of course, you have to be aware of the risks, and that is why every system built up on digitalizations, you have to think about cybersecurity. And I think we have seen now in all our countries, it started for us already in 2008, and we see what happened in Ukraine now. It's a full-scale cyber war, and it also affects you here, all countries, we know that very well, but us everywhere. So the way we raise the awareness of what is going on is, of course, you can't only be happy and see the opportunities. And we are very happy that we have the NATO Cybersecurity Center based in Tallinn. But And we have had e-voting for very, very many times, and it has worked out very well. That was, I think, one area where people were most skeptic, but it has worked, and it's very popular among young people, but also many people living abroad. So it helps. Well, we have been in close contacts with many countries here in the region, and we have seen the digital transformation has grown tremendously. And we have an e-governance academy in Estonia, and we have worked on different projects here on, for example, with the ICDA on which has implemented in Albania, Kosovo, Montenegro, here in North Macedonia and Serbia, and on the project on enhancing Western Balkan e-government expertise, which has been dealing with the public administration. And I think we hope to continue with this. And it's a two-way when we cooperate, because we have our experience and we know how we built up, but it's also great to see, because you can never sit down and be satisfied that we are very good in this, we know all this, then that's dangerous. So that is why it's so important to work together with others and see, because there are new ideas, new solutions, and you can never be sure of being that you know what you are doing. And I think that is one, you said, talked about the challenges. There are few experts, and that's of course a problem, but it's also a problem that you have always be a step before, you have always be thinking of what is coming, and that is tiresome sometimes. So, but thank you.
Thank you for this opening remarks. And yes, definitely we heard the word trust. And we have to agree that building the trust in the process of digitalization is the key word, actually, to implement the digitalization. But when I remember the time when Damian Manchevski became minister, it was 6. You want? Okay. But I have to remember, at least for this panel, then we can forget. The focus was put on administration. I remember the whole focus was from the audience, from the media, was put like what is going to happen with the administration, but still you succeeded to put the digitalization, digital transformation back on track, or put it on the track. And especially I remember you built close relations with the European Union and the Commissioner for digitalization there. And that was the first time when we start talking about digitalization. But also during the pandemics, we saw how things started to develop fast. So where were we then? Where now?
How it works. Well, from what Minister Liu said, I think we're here in North Macedonia, we are on a good track, and I think they're finally seeing some of the just conversations we had then are now seeing the day of the light. But still, we're all discussing about digital transformation, and we acknowledge its importance, and we all agree there is a national, international consensus about it. But I think, and the Americans have a saying, we need to put our money where our mouth is. Without funding, there is no digital transformation. So I'm sorry to say, but I don't think that this panel will give much of a result, because we need two very important participants. That is the Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance. Without them, none of this, that we all agree is a very nice thing, will happen. Yes, the first step, as the Minister said, and that's where I fully agree, and I'm very happy to hear the government say this now, is the digitalization of the data. We cannot digitally transform because we don't have the data in digital format. Everything that we have done so far was, as Bojan, you said, with the support of our international partners. But in this situation, and I'm coming from the private sector now, I'm going to say this, I can also criticize them as well. Why? Because when I became a minister, the first thing that my cabinet came to tell me, and it was the Secretariat of European Affairs as well, is that there are available funds for technical assistance. I'm an IT guy, so when you tell me technical assistance, and then we started drawing, okay, we digitize these databases and we connect them in these web services, and we made a nice drawing. It went to them, many of them, who said, aha, yes, but the technical assistance is not hardware and software, it's actually experts. Oh, okay, cool. So we brought the experts from all over, Estonians as well, who drew a much better drawing than we did. I drew terribly. It was a very nice plan. And we looked at the plan, and actually it was the Estonian experts who came to us and said, okay, who is going to pay for this now? Well, that is the question I still don't have the answer for. Unfortunately, I don't think the government has as well. Because, you know, I think we do know the path. I think we have the strategies. We do have the plans. We need to fund them. And yes, you cannot do this without the participation of the private sector as well. The public sector, unfortunately, does not have the capacity. In many cases, the private sector also does not have the capacity. We all need to join forces in order to do something here. There is only one constant thing in the world and in life. One, that is the change. So whether we like it or not, the change will happen. It's much better that we plan it and coordinate it rather than to happen without our will or knowledge. And yes, we do need disruptors like the people in Estonia in 2000. When they decided to go digital only, I don't think they were ready for it. There was somebody there who said, from tomorrow, no paper. And many people were saying that this person is crazy, most probably. But then they said, okay, and they adapted. So we need disruptors. In digital transformation, the digital transformation is a disruptor of the normal processes. And I'm not going to speak for long because, you know, we have other people here. But the digital transformation, again, I'm not going to contradict myself now, is not about hardware and software. It's about changing the processes, thinking, what can we do in order not to use paper anymore, not to have agendas for the government materials on the table, change the way we identify people. Today we pay billions of euros and dollars with digital certificate, but we're still stopping people on the border to identify them. So we trust more the police officer on the border, especially here in Western Balkans. So you can travel freely around Europe, but then you stop in Western Balkans because it's very important for the Macedonian police officers to identify you, and then you can carry on freely through the rest of the world. So again, we need to disrupt the process. We need a different way of thinking, and yes, we need funding for that. So as a representative of the ICT Chamber of Commerce, an appeal to domestic community, government, but also an international community that yes, this needs funding where it will make a difference. And I think we have the support of the entire society. I'm very glad that this is the case almost everywhere. There will be no objections to anyone in this process. And I will finish with maybe one recommendation as a concrete proposal to the minister himself. And this will raise...
You can give the suggestion later because that will be my next question if you want.
Okay. I'll pass the mic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, but thank you very much. So actually, Mr. Manches had another key word, is finance or finding. So we have trust, we have funding, and that reminds me of a study visit we had to Denmark, to Copenhagen, in the Ministry of Digital Governance and Gender Equality, when they explained us that back in 1995, they started as a unit within the Ministry of Finance. Why Ministry of Finance? Because their logic was that digital transformation process saves the funds, the money. It's taking care about the budget of the citizens. So yeah, definitely not just saving the money, but also investing in the process, which will bring us the results. But we have with us Ermira Idrisi from the Southeastern European University. What about the digital skills?
Okay, we all agree on digitalization. It's an important way to go, and we must thrive in the digital economy. But nevertheless, without digital skills, there is no digitalization. So what we see here, especially when we come from the part of an educational institution, we lack of digital skills. Firstly, what we need from an educational institution is a policy or framework that will go through the curricula of primary schools at first, secondary schools, and then into the higher level of education. We need new aspects of digitalization. We need new courses like coding, cybersecurity, artificial intelligence. That should start from primary school. Then also different aspects of digitalization where students get the at least minimum requirements of literacy. Nevertheless, from our point of view, we try to also incorporate artificial intelligence, the new algorithms of machine learning, as something that we can predict learning, like personalized learning, adaptive learning systems, where we really will see the outcomes of students and adapt our curricula, syllabus, everything to personalized learning and to personalized digital skills. Nevertheless, of students, but we also have to take in mind the other side, the teachers, which really lack on digital skills. And I'm stating here the teachers from primary school and secondary school. They really lack on basic digital skills, which they are not able then to transmit those skills to students. We have to have some type of framework how we can assess those digital skills, how teachers will have as much professional development as possible. We miss those at the moment, those trainings. A lot of teachers had a lot of pressure when we went online with the digitalization, with everything. The teachers really felt that. And so we saw that lack. We tried to help on different sectors or in overall, but still, if it's not something government funding, then it's not something individually that we can do from our institution and so on. I think we need, I will not come to conclusions, but we need
the next step, yeah.
We need frameworks and the policy of how we will create those curriculums. And something else, what we need incorporation is the private sector. We see now a huge number of outsourcing companies that, especially at my university, are functioning right now. So we have to have a collaboration with them to see what exactly they require, what type of skills, so that now we can adapt those skills with our students. And they can find a workplace here in Macedonia with the same skill set that they will find in all over the world. So I think the digitalization needs also the digital skills, where we can prepare the future generation for the future world of digitalization.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Edith, the third keyword, digital skills. And thanks for this academic perspective and this critical thinking on that position. But now we mentioned actually the private sector, we mentioned governments, we mentioned academia. What about civil society sector, Mr. Verala?
Yes, I'm coming from the civil society.
That's why I asked.
It's civil, it's a human rights organization that works for 24 years now, involved in the critical processes in the country, including the Prespa process, even at the risk of people's safety and well-being back in 2018 and then onwards. However, this organization that I'm coming from is running also a media platform in Macedonian, Albanian, and English language. And don't worry, we're under hybrid or cyber attack at least twice a week. Especially because of being a prominent media platform countering Russian propaganda, especially since the beginning of the large-scale invasion on Ukraine. And this is a sector in which we, I believe at least, we are pioneering some aspects of the digital transformations in society. But then I can say that in some aspects we're a little bit more forward than the government. However, not so advanced as the commercial sector. And we see the digital transformations as a process or as a state of the society, economy, in which the commerce transfers the value to customers in a much better and faster and more quality ways. But then we also see that the government can become even more transparent thanks to the digital transformations. And we see that also the digital services that the government may provide can make people's lives easier. Although, you know, you have all sorts of examples like this. You need to go to the MOI's website to download a form to request an ID card, but then you need to print it after filling it in and then bring it physically to the MOI's office, something that you haven't done very successfully to the end. Or also, we've been witnessing creations of great many databases. Database for health insurance, database for this, for that, for other sectors. But are they connected? Can they help each other? No. But whenever we need to start, and I remember the very hard days that Mr. Maciejewski here had, to find out the real number, for instance, of people working in the administration. So the databases, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think they're still connected in a proper way, so they can really make the lives easier to both citizens and to the government as well. So there are several other real important challenges that are ahead of the digital transformations. And we rarely speak of the human rights aspects of the whole story. We rarely hear that someone in the commercial sector or in the government sector, even in the civil society sector, speaks about preventing people becoming digital slaves. And it is a case in which, you know, globally speaking, we are all more or less digital slaves. But then we also, we are not speaking a lot and not even taking enough measures to be more resilient to hybrid attacks that are quite obviously there in the reality as we speak. Hybrid attacks are there to be used by attackers who can use digital platforms and digital transformation processes in countries in order to enslave them in different ways. And of course, at the end, I would just mention that there is a high risk, not only from the commercial sector abusing, trading data, private data of people, of customers or potential customers, but also the illiberal centers of power can also be a threat to the people's freedoms, human rights and freedoms within the digital sphere. And of course, other centers of power, financial, military, or whatever, even criminal centers of power may see the digitalized societies as a gold mine for their goals. And of course, I have a few recommendations of how to make the future pinkier.
The most important things are always the recommendations. So before we go to the recommendations and conclusions, we have two microphones. If anyone would like to ask some question, add a remark, or share opinion, please just take the microphones and use the chance now. Okay, 1, 2, 3, sold out. Okay, then let's continue with the recommendations. Let's start from you, Mr. Derala, now. Change the circle. And
with pleasure.
Let's try to focus on one, but if you have more, of course,
Only
please
one.
share. Great. One most important I said, yeah. You are right. Of course, if you have more, you can say it here or maybe in written form directly to the ministry. But
I'll put it on paper.
but the paper is digital.
And send you my invoice, of course.
But the paper is digitalized
I'm learning,
now, so anyway. Okay, let's go with the question. What's the recommendation actually? How we should put more efforts, focus more in order to make digital transformation even connect us more? What should we do?
So we start from here.
Yes.
Okay. My appeal, not only to the government, but also to the commercial sector, is that you need to use the civil society, especially the one that is advanced in this area, and become partners with us. We mentioned human rights, we mentioned trust, we mentioned financing, and so on. The civil society can be a place where you can get more or less all of that in terms of civic education, awareness raising, and also helping with expertise to the government. Many times I've heard that the government does not have enough expertise or enough capacities, and that's why the partnership between especially government agencies and so on should be accelerated and set in a let's say in a systematic manner, not to be an ad hoc thing. Of course, the civil society can be a resource also for the commercial sector. Maybe borrow or hire or go into partnerships together with the commercial sector to the donor community, to the government, and work all together within this area, which is, I mean, extremely vast and complex. I will only mention one more, and that's where I'm going to stop, free of charge, and then the third one will be bonus we've been working free of charge for 24 years, so no problem to work another 24. However, I'd like to stress the two more things. The one is that the digital transformations of the society, of the commerce, and of the government, and of the administration draws a lot of interest from illiberal or criminal or whatever centers of power. That's why it needs to become an sectorial or task to work on safety, digital safety, or cybersecurity, if you like, to work on protection of human rights of each and every citizen that gets in contact with, actually, there is no way out of the digital world, but to try to help citizens realize what their rights are and to try to protect them. Of course, there are quite a few more, but we are, as civil, we are open to go on working in this area together with you, and of course with the commercial sector, and as well with the international community.
I believe that we'll have a lot of chances in the future, especially that the government, but also the private sector, the international community, and other supporters are open for this kind of initiatives, and I believe we'll make the success we are striving to do for many years. So, Ms. Idrizi, your recommendation for the process, how can we be more connected even?
For my recommendations are that we need to look through the curricula. On the time of ChatGPT, not only digital skills, but all courses in general, we need to go through them and enhance critical thinking in students, and also enhance their problem-solving skills. That's what they need in the digital world. Not only learn mechanically or by heart things. So we need to transform the whole curricula. That's why we need the Minister of Education here. We need to go through them because we really lack students from primary and secondary school, really lack of not only digital skills, problem solving, and critical thinking. That's a huge problem when they get to the point as students where they really miss those skills, even though we are trying now, but it's something that comes from a young age. Something else is that we need some type of framework to assess teachers, to assess what type of digital skills they have. We need more professional trainings. We need an assessment framework where teachers can get into that particular portal, take some type of tests. There are a lot of frameworks, European frameworks, where you can really assess your digital skills. And we need to adopt that so that our teachers can see where they are, can learn better and future skills, and also that should be those skills should be as resources for other teachers, so that they can really help each other in getting those digital skills that they really need in their everyday work. So that is my...
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Manchevsky, your recommendation?
So let me finish from previously.
Yeah, thank you. You start.
Very concrete. Abolish the Directorate of... Just one and a half. Abolish the Directorate of Public Records, digitize the data, that's the one, the half. Second half, buy yourself a bucket of popcorn and enjoy. You'll very much enjoy what you'll see what will happen after that.
I think it's noted. Your recommendation?
Yes, I will be more general in the recommendations, and I think when we digitalize, it's talking about digitalization, we have to think that it's perhaps 20% technology and the rest is governance. And having that in mind, I think international cooperation is of utmost importance as with countries who have the similar values, who are following international law and norms and rules, and that is what we have to have in mind, and that's our cooperation, even if we are far away geographically, but this is what we have to have in mind when we cooperate. Thank you.
Well, I would like to hear your recommendations also, ministers, maybe for the government.
No, we do have recommendations for everybody else.
Also this recommendation, very valuable. So, Minister,
yes.
Your recommendation?
My recommendation is that digital transformation is not something for the government only, but everybody should take part in it. And this is the mindset that we should change. And if I just reflect on the digital skills, if I take that as an example, of course, the government should fund the activities. And this is what we started in Slovenia. We are investing a lot, not in the hardware and software only, but mostly in the people, in different programs. Then NGOs raising awareness about digital transformation and how we are collaborating with our NGOs. They're the ones who reach the people on the ground because they're already there working. So we need the NGOs to have them on board as well. Research and academia to continuously improve the trainings, the programs, so that we will have the right skills, the right competences, the people will be equipped with them. Then the companies, again, they should invest in their own employees. So not only to expect once they get them in the company, then they have all the knowledge, but they need to continuously invest them. And last but not least, and this is very important, is personally, we need to be aware that we need the lifelong learning process all the time. So I think it was you who mentioned that once we come up, we do not know everything. And it's the same with us as a person. Even though I have PhD in electrical engineering, but I received it 10 years ago, so things are continuously improving and I need to learn all the time. And with digital transformation, if we want to be successful, then all of us, regardless where we're working in the government, in the private companies, we continuously need to learn.
Thank you. Thank you, Minister Stoimenova Duh. Minister Aliu?
Well, as you see, at the end of the session, digital transformation connects not only people, so NGO, academia, private sector, and countries. So yeah, let's start and create a proper ecosystem for our digital transformation in our country. So yeah, we will together. Thank you very much for this session.
Thank you very much.
And we have a list of activities that we want to create a politics and work on it. So,
definitely, the first draft of the list, it will be added with more points, I think, by all of us. But this is not the end of the session because we have with us the State Secretary in the Secretariat for European Affairs, Ms. Drita Abdiu Khalili, with her remarks and conclusions.
Thank you very much.
Where can we go from now?
Well, first of all, let me tell you, except being a state secretary, but it's such a long title, not as important as long as it is. I'm also the deputy chief negotiator between North Macedonia and EU. And as you all know, now we are deep into the screening process. So I'll start from there that we have a very good alignment with the EU acquis. And this will directly connect me to what Minister Aliu said. But it's not enough. We are praised for being aligned. Then the next step is having the infrastructure and implementing this acquis, which of course costs a lot. So I would just mention that a few keywords from each of the participants that left a mark, and maybe we can draw the conclusions from that. Mr. Aliu, you said we identified the problem, we take action. I'm not praising the government. we have an action plan, and now we put into action. I don't think you regret for being a minister. You're probably proud for what you talked at the time. Now we're walking together. So there's a big piece of success there, Damian. Minister, you talked about challenges, and what I liked the most was leave no one behind. I commute between Brussels and Skopje, or my hometown, Tetovo, and what happens in Brussels sometimes, if I don't have my card, I can't have my coffee because it says, thank you, we are cash free. But when you turn back to not remote places in our country, if you try to pay with a card, they say, sorry, cash only. We have to close this gap if I simplify it. And you have a perspective till 2030, we do as well, becoming a full-fledged member. So I think now with concrete steps, being in the process, join all forces, we can achieve that. Because we're going to be smart enough to learn from your mistakes, it's cheaper and quicker. Estonia was always given as an example that sucked up all the IPA money quickly. And so the funding is there. We have to build on capacities also to make use of this. Professor, you talked about skills, which also connects to people, and you talked about protecting human rights. And my conclusion is that at the end, it's all about people. So if we all join forces, and this is not just to make the nice talk, but it is actually possible to join forces. You pinpointed the problems, which then the minister explained, that we tackle them and work on them. Is it easy? No, it's not. We have two examples that explain that. First, it's not easy. It takes time, effort, and you have to continuously build upon what you do day by day. So I would say that we will get there together. So together with the private sector, especially if had the taste of seeing how difficult it is on this side, and then having someone from the academia seeing that it's easier said than done. Agree, Minister? And so this would be my conclusion, to work together, and I am sure we will achieve results. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for these excellent conclusions. And yes, you mentioned the people, and as Minister Buer Osmani, as chairman of OSCE, would say, it's all about the people and their future. So definitely, I would like to thank you all for being here on this panel, but most of all to all of you that were with us. I hope that we paid the attention and were interesting enough. So thanks, and I will suggest that we continue just giving ideas, continue just being proactive, and continue building coalitions. But not just political coalitions we're used to, but coalition between different stakeholders. So thank you very much. Probably this is the last thing on the Prespa session, and see you in non-formal gatherings outside. Thank you.